I think it is recording now. Yeah. Hi, here we are. So the subject for tonight is how to re-establish peace on earth. And the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that we've now discovered, maybe not all of us, but the people who discovered these kind of things have pretty much discovered that there was at least 3,000 years and maybe more of peace on earth, very peaceful cultures. In Europe was where most of the, what do you call it now, archaeology that establishes that has been done. But I was reading an introduction by Joseph Campbell today, and he mentioned a scholar, Lewis H. Morgan, who studied the Iroquois and wrote a couple of volumes on them. And Campbell says that he really suspected and had evidence to believe that pre-patriarchal history, that peace was global, that the cultures all over the earth were highly communal and were very focused on Mother Earth, and therefore were, things are happening here. I don't know who's calling. Pam, my golly, we are bringing in the old-time friends now. Thank you for joining. All the way from Oregon, isn't that where you are? Anyway, glad you're here. I think I have the right name with the right person. Can you hear me? Huh, Heidi disappeared. Anyway, I'm going to go on with this subject about how, there's pretty good agreement on a lot of knowledgeable people that before patriarchy, which means about 5,000 years ago, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, and many thousands of years before that, there was peace all over the world. And that the culture was in a lot of ways very similar. It was a very, not matriarchal, but matrilineal, very equal between the genders culture, very focused on agriculture in the sense of growing plants, very focused on art, very focused on nature in all of its, revering it in all of its forms, and revering the birth and death process, and really honoring that in deep ways. And honoring it as the living earth itself and its cycles of growth and death and rebirth. And in that peaceful culture, I was listening to this documentary about Crete, which is one of the last places in terms of Western culture where it existed, that the archaeologists there, some of them thought that what must have happened there was a happiness and a quality of joy and abundance that was equally shared that we've not seen on the earth since. That's a profound kind of realization. And yet, there are pockets of it that remained. I remember years ago talking to Jake Swamp, who's one of the Iroquois chiefs, or at least he was at that time when I met with him. And he was telling me, in our tribe, the women have the vote. Not the men, but the women have the vote. Hey, Lynn, hi there. The women have the vote, he said, because they watch the children grow up and they know who would be a good chief, because the duty of the chief And how it works is that everybody who has stuff they don't need, they give it to the chief, not for him to hang on to, but for him to be responsible to see who could use it best. So the chief is actually the poorest guy in the tribe, because his whole responsibility is to give whatever he receives to whoever can use it, whoever is best served by it. And I have a friend now who's a member of the Seminole tribe. She's, you might say, in our way of phrasing it, independently wealthy, because the tribe has a united income and she gets her share of that. You know, that's a way of thinking that doesn't exist in our culture. Because that peace came to an end when certain tribes, and different people include different tribes in this. I mean, I noticed this gal who wrote Chalice and the Blade, she includes in that backwards. But anyway, the Hebrews as a warring tribe that invaded peaceful people. But most of them that people really are focused on are the Kurgans, who came from the Russian steppes, as far as they can tell. These people had male gods, they had horses and cattle. They didn't farm. They weren't agricultural in that way. They rode horses, and originally they didn't even have metal. The people in Europe, the peaceful people, were using metal, not for weapons, but for ornaments and figurines and things like that. But these people invaded because they were riding horses and they could come and attack on, not on foot. And so these waves of invasions, which took a number of thousands of years, slowly destroyed the culture of the older indigenous European people, that culture that was goddess-focused, earth-focused, and focused on productivity, on creating abundance out of ingenuity and skill and talent and technology. Whereas the invaders, they got wealth by destruction, by killing, by violence. And so eventually, with thousands of years, they took over. And the message that I take from this is that both those cultures are our ancestors now. Both those cultures live within us. And we can now choose, really on an individual level, in each moment, which one we want to embody. And I think that that's really the process going forward that can bring peace on earth. And I'm going to look at some of these notes and see if they have anything worth attending to. I just want to, I think it's important, and I know for myself, I can find both of those inside of myself. I can find the internalized impulse to have dominance over others, to have fear, to be violent, to be judgmental, to have condemnation of differences and diversity, to invest in hierarchy and inequality. I can find those impulses inside of me. They've been there all my life. And also, from the other side, there's been the impulse for compassion, for nonviolence, for equality, for choosing discernment over judgment, for appreciating and valuing the benefits of differences and diversity. Most of all, for revering and caring for and respecting the well-being and needs of all beings, plants, animals, the earth's elements and processes, all human beings, despite recognizable differences. There's the contrast. And as the descendants of both those populations, we have internalized both of those. And it's now time to choose life, to choose vulnerability, undefendedness, basically to choose love. Because what was inspiring those original peaceful people, not only in Europe, but in the Americas, in Africa, in Australia? I remember Jake talking about to me when he went to Australia to plant the Iroquois tree of peace, the grandmothers wanted to check him out, and he knew where they were coming from. And he said, I knew I needed to tell him that my grandfathers from my grandmothers from my tribe sent their greetings to the grandmothers of the Aboriginal people. You know, these remnants of that peacefulness is everywhere on the earth, and it's in us, but we need to choose it consistently, moment to moment. And it's not like that isn't happening. It has begun to happen, but we're a long way from it in so many ways. You know, we can, people think that maybe it's going to come through politics. But the power involved in politics is exactly the power of the warring tribes, embodied now. It's all about power. It's not about caring. So that's one of the distinctions between those two cultures. You know, like in the story of Jake, the chieftain or the priestess, the person, who was looked up to in the matrilineal peaceful cultures, their job was to make sure everyone had what they needed. Not to see what they could grab or how they could control or how they could dominate. The power that we need to bring peace on earth is the power of love, real conscious love. Now, I don't mean by that some sentimental, romantic, alone kind of love. I mean by that a very conscious love that sees clearly without projection, that values mutuality, that is there to serve, but not to be stepped on. And I see that kind of love happening more and more, but it's still just a seed growing in our culture. I see it among couples who are committed to partnership that is mutually highly supportive and that lays the foundation for children to be raised in a way where they have the love, they have the nurturance, they have the guidance, and they are empowered through really quality education that comes as much from their family as it does from any institution. It's education in this kind of earth-centered living. That it's education in an experience of deep bonding with the earth. I had that privilege as a child. I remember my father, I'll still remember, I mean, I must have been 4 years old at the time, and I happened to be out playing in the driveway. My mother didn't realize that I wasn't asleep yet, I think, and he would just finish the milking, and I was looking up, there was a star in the sky. First star as the sun had just gone down. And he saw that I was, intrigued by that star. And he started telling me about how far away that star was, that it had traveled, the light I was seeing as it had traveled light years to get to me. It might not even be there anymore, but the light was still coming. It was that far. And then he said, that it looks like the sun just went down. And he would say things like, this may be too deep for you, sweetheart, but he would tell me anyway. And I think because he just believed in me, I was able to hear him. And he was talking about the sun didn't go down. The earth has turned. We're the ones moving. And it was mind-blowing to me. And I remember several days later, I went and I laid down in the pasture. And I tried to feel the earth move. And I did. I felt it move. And I felt it hold me to it so tight as it turned. And it was a dizzying feeling because I felt it was just going so fast. And it was just holding on to me. And the clouds above me were going with it. And I could feel the spin of it. And it was so powerful. And that feeling, I think, bonded me to the living earth as a mother that was more secure than even my bond with my own birth mother. That's the kind of education our children need in order to understand the importance of the earth, the importance of peace, the importance of life. Not these political slogans, pro-life, that really are about control of others instead of your own commitment personally to life. That's the process that we need to invest in. And it's happening slowly. And I think we need to take the long view because those peace-loving people, those peace-loving, productive, earth-loving people in Europe, they were not taken down in an instant. It was thousands of years before the war tribes with their male gods took over. And it may take equally long to reverse it on a global level. But we may not have thousands of years because the damage we're doing to life itself and to everything that supports it is pretty intense right now. And I'm not saying that to engender fear, because fear is part of that other culture. I think if we really invest in doing our part, we don't have to be fearful. And maybe I'm idealistic here, but I have a trust in the earth herself. And it doesn't mean that it'll all be pretty. I think of the story that my oldest son told me about how I haven't really researched this, but he's usually pretty on it. So I don't think this is a complete fairy tale. He said there was a point in the evolution of the earth before there were animals, when there was just plant life, when the whole atmosphere began to fill up with oxygen and life was threatened because there was no balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. And life almost vanished off this amazing planet. And kind of, in the last moment, the earth brought forth animals who breathed in the oxygen and expelled CO2. And the balance between plants and animals was restored. Now, I think we have a role as part of conscious life on Earth, not to just sit back and expect the Earth to solve our problem when we're polluting the heck out of her. We have to take responsibility for our part. We have to step forward and do what we can do to align with that part of ourselves that still has internalized the culture of peace, the culture of the earth goddess, the culture of life and procreation in all of its forms. Instead of, wave the pro-life banner with one hand and extinguish life on the other hand, full force. It's not about the values we profess. It's about what we actually entertain inside of ourselves and act on day to day, moment to moment. One of the things I heard lately that gave me hope was I heard there had been a study on spanking. When I was a kid, spanking was recommended. Spare the rod, you'll spoil the child. My mother's favorite tool was actually a shoe, which really, you noticed it. And I am blessed that, unlike many people who have been spanked, I didn't grow up with the same level of violence that I received. And I was delighted to hear the other day that they've done polls, it might even been Pew Research, I don't know. They've done polls on people, have you spanked your child this week? And the numbers are down. They haven't vanished. It's still happening. And it's still happening equally among poor people and wealthy people. So the violence has been internalized by all of us, regardless of our economic status. That kind of equality we have. But at least it's moving in the right direction. But as I was saying before, the way to end the war, the way to establish the peace, it depends on each one of us. Internalizing and making the choices to love the earth, to love nature, really love it. I mean, I used to think I loved nature, and I think I always did on some level, but it's a different thing to actually see it directly. I think that's something that the early peaceful people really did. They really saw life directly in each moment, which is a high contrast for where most of us spend our day, which is up here thinking. not directly experiencing from our heart what is in front of us. One of the internalized parts of the warring culture, of the male god culture, I mean, I never really thought about this until I was, doing some of this recent studying that I've done. What does it say about honoring motherhood when in the Bible, the woman is made out of the man's rib? Eve was formed from Adam's rib. I don't see that happening in nature. Do you? And then in the Greek story of how things come to be, Athena sprung full grown right out of her father's head. Maybe that's why we're in our head so much. That is far from how it happens in nature. But I think about, in our culture, one of the changes that's been happening, since in my lifetime, is that many fathers now are there when their children are born. They see birth happen. They see that amazing, miraculous, difficult, life-changing event happen in front of them. The contrast between that real live event of watching your child be born out of the woman you love is such an unfathomable difference from the story that a woman springs out of her father's head full grown, or that a woman is made out of a man's rib. How do people even buy those stories? I don't know. But I know when I was a child, it was unthinkable that a father would be there when his child was born. It was even pretty unthinkable when my children were born. Thankfully, it's no longer unthinkable. Thankfully, my son was there when both his daughters were born. So these are life changes that are happening. They're happening in people's lives. They're not happening at a governmental level. Because it's what happens in people's lives that in the long run are going to make the difference. And what's mostly going to make the difference is when we can come fully from that peaceful heritage, from that part of our ancestral line, and empower ourselves and those around us with those harmonious values of compassion and openness, trust in life, full honesty with ourselves. And see what is in front of us without projection, but as it truly and really is. Sometimes what we see is wounded. Sometimes what we see has a dangerous element to it. And I don't mean we should deny that. It's important to be very discerning of what really is, but not to be fearful, not to run from it, and not to condemn it. Because every human being, I truly feel, is doing the best they know how, even if they're caught in some very painful and dangerous delusion. You know, I think of Martin Luther King. They killed him, dead. But they didn't destroy him because of the faith he had in what he was doing and his commitment to nonviolence. What he did lived on after him in a way that has been amazing. And it hasn't stopped yet. It's not done yet, for sure. But he had an impact because of his deep integrity and understanding that violence wasn't the way. That gave a dignity to his movement that was undeniable. Love is powerful. It is very powerful. It's not a strategy. It's a real living experience in the moment. And when you're coming from it, it's not like you have a strategy. You're just being carried on it with the power of it. And I've seen situations where conflict seemed inevitable that resolved unexpectedly because there was love. I found myself in situations where I can just say to someone, "You're not allowed here. It's not okay." But I'm coming from love and they can hear it. I'm not saying that happens all the time, that it's a strategy. No. It just happens in the moment when the clarity and the love is there. Weaponry is something the human race has put its trust in now for 4,000 years. And, you know, we've got weapons up the kazoo. Now we have local police armed with tanks. That's not going to heal the earth. That doesn't give birth to life. So I don't have a strategy to bring peace on earth. But I have a way to experience peace inside myself. And I know that the degree to which that grows in me, it impacts everyone around me. And it's not a strategy. I've seen that happen in my own family. I remember quite a few years ago, my son and I had a disagreement. And it was triggered, it was amplified by the fact that we both cared very much about my granddaughter, and something had happened that was dangerous to her. and we had different views about it. So we were quite amplified. And, the violence was there in our words and our attitude towards each other. I remember my daughter-in-law saying to me, it was really ugly. She was very, discerning about her seeing it. And I'll never forget that experience, because I think both of us realized, and I realized, this is something I've carried on. I remember my mother, oh my God, she would go on and on like that. And, it wouldn't take a lot to trigger her anger and her violence and her temper. And here it had happened to us, and I was the elder engaged in this, and my son was showing me right back. And there was something about really seeing it for what it was, that it's never happened since. The years have passed, and the bond between us is so clean and loving now. And, a decision was made. And it's not just, okay, I'm not going to do that again. No, it's not a matter of just negating the negative. It was a decision to really see each other and hold each other with deep and empowering love that has really changed our relationship and continues to. It doesn't just stop, it continues to amplify. And that's what I really think has such power. The experience that I've had as a mother, as a grandmother, the love I've had for my offspring, that's what I feel in those early peaceful cultures they had for everyone, for every life form. And their society acted that way. And that is what we have an opportunity to really invest in. Because that's how it's going to happen. It's going to happen not from the top down. That's the old model. That's the war model, from the top down, dominance, power over. It's going to happen from the heart out. In moment to moment, living from that love of everything that presents itself to you, that is part of the earth, that is part of your family, that is part of your relationship. I'm not saying all that is easy. There's a lot of wounding in our culture. There are a lot of wounding in our families. But the solution is not attack. It may be pull back. It may be wait for the right opening. If you're coming from open, honest, undefended love, you will find the right way. You won't push in where there's not an opening. There's so many, levels where how we've internalized these two ways, need real discernment to see our way forward, to see our way expanded, to see our way to experiencing peacefulness in ourselves and to share that with each other and most of all with our children. I thought about that thing about the spanking. I woke up thinking about it this morning, and I remember years ago, before I was a mother even, seeing in public people hitting their children and being outraged then. And it's a delight to me to know that it happens less, but it still does happen. So I think it's really important taking that long view. Each step in the right direction, each moment that we make the right choice makes a difference. It may feel small, it may feel tiny, but it makes a huge difference in the long run. And we are in this for the long run, hopefully. And I don't mean I want it to take a long time, I just mean that hopefully we will get there and we won't make too many of the wrong decisions. Certainly there is plenty of power invested in the wrong decisions. But the power of love is extremely powerful. And it's not a matter of believing that so much as it's a matter of really experiencing that. I have a teacher several days a week that I experience that with. She's 2 years old. And yeah, it's powerful. So I hope some of this has been of value to you today. I'm very grateful to each one of you for coming, and I'm grateful for those who have made the difference to expose this information. Because, some of these places like Crete, which is amazing. I mean, I was, where is it? Yeah. This is Women in Spirituality, the Goddess Trilogy by Cinema Canada. Just the first of these has a lot of information about Crete and the amazing civilization there that was totally equal, where everyone was really supported and had real sustenance and amazing art. I mean, the buildings were incredible, and they still are there, and the painting and even the ceilings were painted. Just incredible artwork from these cultures. And I'm going off lost my track here. But yeah, it's like there's real potential in the power of love and truth and beauty, creativity, and communal support, and personal support, partnership support. These are amazingly powerful things, and they don't come from the top down, as I said before, which is one of the reasons I'm excited about doing the video class that I've talked about in January. I've got one person signed up. Woohoo, sure. It'll be on Monday starting January 9th about living from the power of your love. We will, those of us in this class will go deeper into what it takes, what is the internal process of really gaining the skill to live from the power of your own love in your life. And I've offered a discount until today, but I'm going to leave it up for another another week, probably till Thanksgiving. So if you go on my website, there's a Pay Now PayPal button, and you can sign up. And I think it's going to be I'm excited about it. I just think that the more we can come together and really honor this part of our lineage, I think those ancestors going back to those amazing peaceful times are really rooting for us, and they really want to support us and to be there for us and encourage us and guide us in the right direction. And so I'm excited to take those steps and really share what we can share together. I've been talking for quite a while tonight. I'm going to ask that anyone who would like to comment or have a question, if you can unmute yourself and add in whatever you would like to add in, or whatever comment or question. So, we have a few more minutes here. I'd love to hear from you. There's right at the, I don't know which one of the corners, there's a little microphone, and you can unmute it by tapping on it if you have something to share. So, hope there's out there.
Yeah, Mariana. Oh, here, can you hear me, Mariana?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I really liked with that part where you talked about not being a top down but a heart up experience, and also saying that you don't have a strategy for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a strategy. It totally comes from your experience in the moment of being really present to life. Present to whoever's with you, present to, it can be a bird. I think it was today, I was looking out the window, there's an amazing chickadee, and it was just so incredible. And we had some guys here today, they were paving our driveway, and there was a joyful interaction. At one point I realized, they're going to pave over my heartstone. I have this heartstone at the end of my walk. And I ran out because they were just starting to, almost get to that. And I ran out and grabbed a spade and picked it up and got it out of the way. And then I kind of started to work on the gravel to put it back. And the guy, he said, "You won't get any money off for helping." It was just, they were all cracked up. It was just like such a light moment, You're just teasing me. And, it's so, there's such a sweetness to life when you open to that experience of spontaneity in the moment with people. When it's just flowing out of you. And it's like, like I said, when the example with my son, sometimes it takes a while it takes an experience of that power over violence, in a way, coming through you to see it for what it is and to make a decision that this is not how I want to live. But it's not like a head decision. It's not like a strategy. It's not like anything like that. It's just in that moment saying, I'm the one responsible here, and I see what I'm doing, and I own that this is something I don't want. And I open to whatever I can do to take responsibility, real responsibility, and be vulnerable. Because it starts there. It starts with really being vulnerable, which is being undefended, which is being open and honest. And from there, then, yeah, it's like you said, Heidi, it just can go out. It's not like you have to solve it or fix it, but you do have to be really present and honest with it. So we have a few more minutes here. Anybody have something they'd like to add or say or comment? Any of the cats have something to say? We have a bunch of cats here. I'd love to welcome their input. Sherm, where's your cat? Oh, there she is. What a beauty. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a thought, and I honor what it is that you're doing here in this process and what you're talking about, and it really resonates with me because I'm in a foreign country, and I don't understand what it is that people are talking about, and so I'm forced to live from my heart.
Mm.
I watch people. I communicate with people. I speak in my mother tongue, and they speak in their mother tongue, and we understand each other on some level linguistically. But I think what we're really communicating on is at a heart level,
Yeah.
and it's miraculous that you're actually trying to put a definition to what it is that's actually taking place. I'm experiencing it. I know this on a heart level. That is, I'm living in a people that I have no way of communicating with them other than with a smile, with a gesture, with a politeness, with a respect, and so it's not something that you can really give words to, but it is an experience, and it makes all the difference in the world. As opposed to being aggressive, you can be loving and get just about anything that you want to, but anything that you want to would always be in honor of all the people around you. And the point that I'm making is, I noticed that lately I've been asked if I was a hunter, because for whatever reason there's this image that people see me in as a hunter. I guess it's because of the clothes that I wear. I don't understand why I'm giving that energy, but there's been a lot of people that have asked me about being a hunter. And in Germany, it's a very, very hard thing. In Europe, I mean, it's a very, very hard thing to be a hunter, because the hunter has a special responsibility within the community in providing a certain type of management to the culture of the community in reference to nature. And I guess it's because I go out into nature, I watch the animals, and I communicate with the animals. That's what I communicate with best, because there's no words that can be used to communicate with animals, and so that comes natural to me. Whenever there's communication without words, I'm there, because that's my language, I guess. Not that I'm doing it consciously; it's all unconscious. And so I think it's really a wonderful thing that you're providing this dialogue for me or for us, so that way we can say, wow, so these are the words that you use in order to put a context, a linguistic context to what it is that we really believe is the right thing to do, because we are not, I don't know if it's, you know, again, I don't have the logistics to say it's a matriarchal, a patriarchal, or whatever. Just bad mojo is all I get. Is all, the only words that I can give it. I mean, it's karma is going to come back and haunt you. If you're going to hurt somebody, if you're going to do bad to somebody or something, even that something or somebody can be yourself. It's gonna come back and haunt you. And so, you know, there's, for me, there's no words that I can use to describe that. It's really a wonderful thing that you're providing us with that, you know, that ability. And I really honor that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Sherm. I think you put it really well. Because it is, you know, the words are, and I have this experience with my, you know, 2-year-old granddaughter, is that, you know, I mean, I use words, but she doesn't understand them, but she does, you know, and I've noticed this, you know, even when she was younger than a year, she would get the meaning of something with no sense of the word. It was just transmission, you know, and so, you know, that's been a real teacher for me, that, you know, we're all transmitting. And so what we are embodying as an experience, we are transmitting. And we talked a little last time about the Emoto work. I think you mentioned it too, Sherm. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. The Japanese scientist who, you know, he took water and would play music to it and then photograph the ice crystals and put words around it and photograph. I mean, the water took up the transmission of whatever he exposed it to, and it would demonstrate. I remember one of the things, it was like, I don't know, I think he wrote, "I want to kill you" or something on this bottle of water, and the crystal, you could see right in it a man with a gun. You know, I mean, it's just like, it is an energetic universe. And the power of love is one of the most powerful energies in this universe. It is a life-giving energy. And to come from it consciously, and I don't mean strategically, as I said before, I mean to really have it be fully in your being, not just an idea in your head. It is extremely powerful. And it's not powerful in a dramatic way, anything but. It is powerful in a very gentle but penetrating way when we fully live in it. So, yeah, we got a few more minutes here. I'm just delighted that you've all come tonight. And I know some of you it's afternoon where you are, and some of you it's way early in the morning, 2 o'clock, I think it must be close to where you are, Sherm, right? So I'm so grateful to you, each of you, and I just feel a lot of gratitude, because, you know, I could sit here and talk to myself, and it would probably get tiresome. I hope it hasn't been tiresome for you. I think, Sherm, you've got it, and I think some of you wouldn't be here if it was tiresome. You would have easily clicked out. So I appreciate that, because I feel real hope for the world. I know sometimes it's hard when I do listen to the news, so it's not all like I'm oblivious to Mosul and to Mr. Trump and to things that are happening. And all of it gives me an opportunity to be present and discerning and to open my heart with love. And not sometimes, and to also witness, when anger pops up or judgment, and to shift that judgment to discernment. What is really real? What do I actually know about this situation or this person? How can I be a loving witness to whatever their situation is and not be a judgmental, superior onlooker? Anyway, we're coming to the end of that hour. I thank you all. I would love for any of you to join me in Sherm for the class that's going to start Monday, the 9th of January, where we'll go deeper into what it is to live from the power of love. It's one of my most, I'm just so excited about this. And I just want to share it with whoever will show up and share it with me. So I hope you come. And I'll leave up the 15% discount pay now button on the website till Thanksgiving. And please take advantage of it. Anyway, I love you all. I really do. So grateful to you. Bye now. Yeah, I've got to remember how to turn this off. Oh, there it is.